As I said earlier, Sydney, I'm afraid, or Sydney is going to be in lockdown for another month, maybe with some exceptions for some areas. We'll hear more about that tomorrow. But tonight, Victoria and South Australia, they go out of lockdowns that almost certainly weren't necessary. And Victorian Premier Dan Andrews thought this was the time for boasting.
But we have seen off 2 Delta outbreaks. I don't think there's a jurisdiction in the world that has been able to achieve that.
I think Victoria also should, the Premier should also announce that Victoria set a record as the only place that ever thought that 5 lockdowns were necessary in the first place. And how many more will it impose to get rid of even one single infection? And this boast of his today was incredible to anyone with a memory.
And it's through painful, tragic, bitter experience that we are able to advise others of what actually works.
Yeah, the Premier can now give advice, the Premier of the state responsible for about 90% of the virus deaths in this country. The one with the leakiest quarantine hotels. The one with the most lockdowns. Advise away, Daniel. Joining me on Newswatch is Sophie Elsworth, media writer for the Australian newspaper. Thanks for your time, Sophie. But the fact is, Andrews was playing off New South Wales to turn his image from the worst Premier in dealing with this virus to the best, but comparing himself essentially to New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian, who today recorded 172 new infections in Sydney. Even the timing of the press conference today seemed very deliberate, didn't it?
Oh, Andrew, look, the spin master Daniel Andrews was in fine form today. You would have noticed that he called that press conference to begin at 10:45 a.m. this morning. Now, we all know that Gladys gets up at 11 a.m. dead on, on the knock every day on this. Now, Andrews got behind the microphone at 10:55. Now, this was very strategic by his spin masters there to get him up on the podium, boast about we're opening up, quickly push away the fact that the removalists didn't face any penalties, and say everything's wonderful down here in Victoria, and then shoot across to Gladys with the bad news. I mean, this was just PR at its finest today. It was incredible.
I think it is to switch his reputation. Is good after all.